What if the most dramatic chapter of your spiritual life is already behind you? What if the fireworks, the goosebumps, the unmistakable breakthrough moments have come and gone, and instead of panic, you found a strange, quiet relief? The surprising effects of your spiritual awakening coming to an end are not what most people expect. You don't lose anything. Something else begins. This is a map for what follows when the peak of awakening settles into your everyday life. When awakening ends, the first thing you feel is a kind of hush. The outer signs that once shouted at you, blaring synchronicities, visible miracles, repeated numbers, dramatic shifts, begin to soften. That silence can feel like abandonment at first. You might scan the world for the signals that once confirmed you were on a path, and find fewer obvious answers. But this quiet is not an empty room. It's the place where integration lives. The thunder has passed. Now the work is quieter, deeper, more intimate. It happens in the way you negotiate your morning, how you show up for a difficult conversation, how you choose your projects. This hush is a sign, not a failure. It means you've moved the guidance from the outside to the inside. Where once you needed external confirmation, you now carry a steadier knowing. The subtlety of inner guidance can be disorienting because it asks for trust without applause. Let that be your first reframe. The fading of spectacle is maturity, not loss. You'll notice this internal shift in small, concrete ways. You used to get immediate jolts, goosebumps, audible words, uncanny coincidences. And now you might feel a quiet confidence that doesn't require validation. Decisions that once took days of signs now arrive as a calm clarity. That's one of the most surprising effects. The evidence moves from flashy to ordinary. This is integration. The magic hasn't left. It lives in how you choose and follow through. Here's what most people don't tell you. Your body often lags behind your soul. While your sense of identity and your inner world have leaped forward, your physical system is still adapting. After awakening ends, you may experience sudden waves of energy followed by deep fatigue. You might find your appetite changing, sometimes subtler, sometimes stark, or your sleep cycling in new patterns. Old aches may reappear in different places. This isn't punishment, it's recalibration. Think of your nervous system like a tuning fork. When a new frequency is introduced, the body vibrates, adjusts, and slowly retunes to a different pitch. That retuning can look like bursts of aliveness, euphoric mornings where everything seems luminous, and then the next day, everything feels heavy. That oscillation is normal. It's your system releasing dense, unintegrated patterns that no longer match your evolving vibration. Be gentle with yourself in these moments. Rest without guilt. Move when you feel light.
If symptoms of overwhelming fatigue, persistent pain, or mental health concerns continue, consider reaching out to a healthcare professional or a licensed therapist for support. This is descriptive, not prescriptive. Professionals can help you rule out medical causes and provide tools for recovery. You'll also find that emotions return to the surface, sometimes with more intensity than before you awakened. Awakening often opens doors into deeper excavation rather than the final excavation. Old griefs, unresolved resentments, and childhood wounds can resurface, not to ruin your progress, but to complete it. These emotions may arise as grief at a dead relationship, anger when you recognize subtle betrayals, or an unexpected ache when you realize how much you've changed. Rather than seeing this as regression, view it as continuation. The initial awakening can strip away the veil and expose what was always there. Now the real healing work unfolds. You might feel unstable while you process these feelings. That's okay. What you are experiencing is refinement. Emotions are not flaws to be fixed, but guides to be heard. Allow them to move through you like weather, sometimes stormy, sometimes clearing, and know that repeatedly sitting with what emerges fosters true integration. Another surprising effect is social recalibration. When you change internally, your relationships will shift. That doesn't necessarily mean someone did something wrong, nor that you are better than the people who drift away. It simply means resonance has changed. You may find yourself laughing less about things you once found funny, or finding old conversations tired and thin. Some friendships will naturally wither. Some family dynamics will strain. This loss can be deeply painful because it feels like losing parts of your life that once defined you. Yet there is purpose in that clearing. As places empty, space opens for new connections that match your evolved self. The soul tribe that appears after awakening is typically smaller but more honest. These are people who understand your new language, whose values align more closely with yours, and who can hold your complexity without trying to shrink it. This transition is not instantaneous. It includes grieving what you lose and intentionally cultivating what you want to invite in. You will be both mourner and midwife, mourning the versions of you and your relationships that are closing, and birthing relationships that reflect who you are becoming. This leads to a counterintuitive truth. The more your outer signs fade, the more your inner compass strengthens. When synchronicities and dramatic confirmations dwindle, the reason often isn't that you've lost access. It's that you've internalized the signal. You no longer require a dance of cosmic nudges to make choices because you sense the direction from within.
The familiar festival of signs, the repeating number, the chance encounter, the uncanny dream, becomes less frequent, not because the universe is absent, but because you are now less dependent on them for guidance. You may miss those signs. That's normal. Say goodbye to them without shame. Celebrate how they led you here, then learn to move without them. That is maturity, knowing and acting from your inner alignment rather than testing the cosmos for constant approval. Reframe the silence as depth. In quiet, the compass of your heart becomes the primary map. As the external distractions quiet and your social world rearranges, something else quietly asserts itself. Purpose takes on a new texture. Early awakening often comes with grand visions and lofty ideals, and sometimes with a burning urgency to change the world overnight. When awakening ends, purpose often becomes less about spectacle and more about embodiment. Your spiritual life is called out of the ether and into the mess of everyday living. Embodiment means applying what you have learned to ordinary tasks, how you parent, how you earn, how you eat, how you love. It's the difference between talking about compassion and choosing it when an invoice is late. It's turning insight into habit, intention into craft. Service in this phase is less about dramatic rescue missions and more about consistent presence. You become a quieter force of change because you show up every day in small but significant ways. A patient conversation, a project executed with integrity, art that carries a new depth. This is where the next chapter of meaning reveals itself. The outcomes are not guaranteed to look like signs from before. You may not become famous or lead a movement or be publicly recognized, but the ripple effect is real. A single person held in your steadiness is often more changed than a crowd moved by spectacle. If you longed for impact, remember that embodiment is where durable transformation happens. With deeper embodiment, you will likely notice increased sensitivity. Senses sharpen, noise, light, diet, and emotional atmospheres register more acutely. Crowds may drain you quickly. Certain foods can feel heavy in ways they never did before. Environments that once felt neutral may now feel dense or thin. Sensitivity is not a weakness, it's an instrument. Once you play it with discernment, it becomes a gift. Here are a few practical micro-tools you can use as you adapt. Small, simple practices that help you manage sensitivity without promising instant fixes. Limit exposure intentionally. If crowded places leave you depleted, plan short visits instead of long stays. Give yourself permission to leave early or to sit at the edge where you can breathe easily. This is practical boundary work, not avoidance. Ground with brief rituals.
For 1 to 3 minutes, try a mini grounding routine. Stand barefoot on the earth or sit with both feet on the floor. Take slow breaths and name 3 things you can see, 2 things you can hear, and 1 thing you can feel in your body. This helps your nervous system settle without needing elaborate preparation. Protect your energetic space with clear no practices. You don't owe anyone constant availability. Use short phrases that feel authentic. I can't right now, or I need some time to think. Practicing small refusals trains your system to respect itself and teaches others how to treat you. Those are simple, low-risk steps. They won't erase sensitivity, but they help you navigate it with dignity. Over time, you'll learn what environments fuel you and which ones take more than they give. Cultivate routines that honor your rhythm, regular rest, periods of solitude, and focused windows of creative or relational work. As your energy refines, it's common to encounter the return to normal paradox.
The world outside remains largely unchanged. People go about the same routines, traffic still snarls, bills still arrive, but you experience it differently. This can be disorienting. Old triggers that used to tip you into reactivity might now land softly, or sometimes more sharply because you noticed them sooner. Workplace dynamics that once felt tolerable might now seem ethically uncomfortable. Family roles may feel strained because you refuse to play the same script. This paradox is not a problem to be fixed. It's the natural after effect of expansion. Your inner landscape has shifted, and the outer landscape acts as a mirror, revealing what still calls for attention. The invitation here is to translate inner change into practical adjustments. If a job no longer fits your values, consider how you might infuse it with meaning, or whether a new direction might be possible. If family dynamics are draining, map out small boundaries that protect your integrity without escalating conflict. Throughout this entire process, patience is your ally. Integration has a pace that cannot be rushed. The end of awakening isn't an endpoint, it's a season that deepens into wisdom. You will still have powerful moments, but they will be quieter, and often they will be seen in steady choices rather than big events. Celebrate the subtler wins, a relationship held through a difficult hour, a habit changed, a creative idea followed through. These small acts are the signatures of an embodied life. As you navigate these shifts, remember this is an individual process. Not everyone experiences these effects the same way in the same order. Some people will find their energy stabilizes quickly, others will have a longer period of ups and downs. Avoid measuring your journey against someone else's timeline. Comparison breeds either impatience or false pride. Neither serves integration.
If you ever feel lost, consider these anchors: simplicity, presence, and service. Keep your practices small and steady. Choose presence over intensity. Allow service to shape your purpose more than ambition. These anchors will help you translate the inner authority you've gained into a life that matters. When the road gets lonely or confusing, reach out to those who reflect your values. Cultivate relationships that offer honest mirrors, not echo chambers. Seek mentors who have embodied their insights for years and can teach you how to live spiritually while managing bills, deadlines, and human complexity. If emotions feel unmanageable or physical symptoms persist, consider professional support as part of your integration toolkit. A skilled practitioner can help you differentiate spiritual territory from medical or psychological needs. As you close this chapter and begin the steady work that follows, return once more to the idea in the title: the surprising effects of your spiritual awakening coming to an end. Surprising because they are quieter than you expected. Surprising because they ask less for spectacle and more for consistency. Surprising because loss comes with gain. Fewer dramatic confirmations, yes, but a deeper internal compass. Social losses, yes, but a truer and smaller soul tribe. Bodily turbulence, yes, but ultimately more harmony when you tend to it. You are being invited to live what you learned. The teachings you've encountered are more potent when worn like a garment than when displayed like jewelry. The spiritual life that follows awakening is not less valuable, it is more durable. It asks for patience and practice. It requires courage to sit with discomfort, gentleness to honor your body, and honesty to realign relationships. If this resonates, if you've experienced the quiet after the storm and want a place to explore these stages with others, consider joining this community by subscribing. We walk this path together, naming what changes, mourning what fades, and building new rhythms that hold the work. Share your experience in the comments below. What surprised you most when your awakening settled into everyday life? Your story matters. It helps someone else know they're not alone. Walk forward knowing that the end of awakening is not a finish line, but a doorway. The real miracle is in the ordinary: how you treat a stranger, how you tend your energy, how you choose your work, how you rest. Embodiment turns insight into impact. Service turns epiphany into a generous life. And the soul tribe that remains will be the ones who see the new you and choose to stay.